Hello everyone and welcome back to the Foreplay channel. I'm Bella.
I'm Jase.
And today we're going to talk about swinger party etiquette and protocols as well as what to expect at a swingers party. There are so many different types of swingers parties, such as swingers cruises and vacations, hotel takeovers, house parties, clubs, and more. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about swinger parties in general. Just note that each party will have variations, and this video is based all on our personal experience as a whole in our 10 years in the swinging lifestyle.
So I'm gonna list really quick though what some of the kind of different events are. So if you're just curious about the different kind of parties and events there is several different ones. One of our personal favorite is the swinger cruises. These are some of the biggest events. They have huge parties with thousands of people, so that's why we like them so much. There's just so many fun things going on. You also have swingers resorts. Those are going to be really fun. Normally a big group of people also having a fun party, and there's also day parties at those, so super fun. You have hotel takeover events, which also have parties, but that's when sometimes an entire hotel will all be taken over by swingers, and that weekend there'll be parties, you know, usually in some of the conference rooms or in the dance halls, things like that. So those are really fun parties. You also have house parties, so these are going to be more private events generally, and you know that if it's a huge house, I guess it could be absolutely a huge party, but those are going to be normally a little bit smaller, more intimate gatherings that aren't going to be as much dancing, but more people talking, going around. So that's another kind of a party. And then the last one is kind of clubs. These can vary in size by a lot depending on what club you go to, but clubs always have different events and different parties as well.
And it's good to note that these are called swingers parties, but you do not have to swing. You don't have to like actually be swinging to attend these parties. It's just the general term that we're using because a lot of the people who go are people who are in the swinging lifestyle. But again, that could be a whole different video, but that is a complete spectrum. Before we jump into club etiquette, let's talk about what needs to happen before attending a swingers party. This isn't about picking out the right outfit, although that can definitely enhance the experience, but it's about laying down the groundwork for a night of fun, respect, and mutual enjoyment. So first things first, communication is key. Sit down with your partner well before the event and have an open and honest conversation. Discuss your boundaries, desires, and expectations. What are you comfortable with? What are your limits? And equally important, what are you both hoping to get out of the experience? For example, we have some nights where before a party we'll say we're excited to go, but we're not looking to play that night. We just want to be flirty and have fun together, and while other nights we're open to the idea of playing if the night ends up going that way. If you want examples of some common rules and boundaries in the swinging lifestyle, we have a full video on our channel that we will have linked below. And when it comes to expectations, we just highly recommend to not make any play with other people your highest priority. This can make for a regrettable experience, and really your first priority should be just having fun with you and your partner, and then anything on top of that, any spicy activities with other people, should be just extra.
So now that you're kind of prepped for going to the party, what is it going to be like? So the first thing to note is it can kind of be a lot when you first get there. It can kind of be overwhelming if you're thinking too much about it. So just make sure, take a deep breath, be calm. It's going to be a really nice, fun time. There's never pressure to do anything. You can take it at your own pace. So that's the first thing, is going with the right mindset, just having fun with your partner and knowing that you're going to have an amazing night. The first thing we recommend is kind of familiarizing yourself with the area. And so, I mean, if you're at a club, you know, you can ask for a tour or something like that, but just kind of familiarize yourself with the area so you feel comfortable is a good first step. Make sure to check out the rules and guidelines of that party or place before you go, just so you can get a little bit more information and make sure that you're following all the guidelines that that place requires. So we'll start with just kind of the etiquette between you and your partner. It's very normal to kind of get yourself familiarized with the area. This could be getting there a little bit early, getting a tour. It could just be kind of walking around, seeing, you know, what the most normal place for you is, where you feel the most comfortable. We generally like to sit down. We love to watch people's outfits, see all the people come in on theme. So you can kind of find a little area that's the most comfortable for you. Sit there, talk to each other. You can have a drink. We do say if you're gonna have a drink, it's totally okay, but make sure to drink in moderation. I know it is loud in clubs, but whenever we're talking back and forth between each other, whenever we're kind of people watching and stuff, we make sure to try not to talk too loud, just because you want to make sure to be respectful of everyone's privacy and everything else around them. We personally like to make laps around the club, so we'll kind of go and we will walk around, maybe we'll walk around the upstairs, walk around the downstairs, just kind of see who's there. Sometimes we might see someone that we want to go approach and say hello to, but just making rounds is super normal. It's one of our favorite things to do at clubs. I'm not gonna get too much into it, but if it's an on-premise club, you can go back with, you know, you and your partner to play. Just make sure that you are being respectful, and if you're going to join a group, maybe in a group area, just make sure you're getting consent before everything. I know that we always say get consent all the time, but it is so important because consent is the most important thing in the lifestyle.
Next, let's talk about the etiquette involved in interacting with others at these parties. It should go without being said, but the same type of etiquette that you would use in normal day-to-day interaction should be used here. So for example, if people are having a conversation and you can tell that they don't want to be interrupted at the moment, it's still going to be rude to go up and talk to those people who are talking to each other. When it comes to the etiquette of approaching a couple, we recommend approaching them together as a couple. It can be less intimidating on you as a couple as well as less intimidating to the other couple. And while this isn't always the case, it is a good rule to start with if you're feeling a little bit nervous. How does the etiquette of conversation go while approaching a couple? So while it's not necessarily bad to go straight into more of a sexual conversation depending on the context of how you meet up with the couple, we do recommend 99% of the time starting with a vanilla conversation first. This could be something along the lines of, hey, we're Bella and Jase, and then say something about, do you come here often? I love your outfit. Is it your first time at the club? Where are you guys from? Or other questions of that nature. Questions like these are a good way to break the ice and make sure everyone's feeling comfortable. And from this point, the conversation may go more in a flirty direction, or it could stay more vanilla, but that will vary from conversation to conversation. Another thing you'll see regularly is dancing with other couples. So for us, that's if we've already established some type of flirtiness with another couple. This would be, for example, regularly dancing with each other, me grinding on Jase or whatnot, and then the girls will start dancing together in the middle, face to face, and then the men will switch partners. This isn't how it always happens, but it is the most common for us. So when it comes to approaching a group of people, this can be more intimidating as you don't want to be bombarding or rude or feel awkward trying to work your way into an already established friend group. But with bigger groups of people, we'd recommend to wait until one couple leaves and then approach them alone, and then maybe they will introduce you to the group at a later point in that night if you guys hit it off. When first going to a new club, you may see multiple groups of people or already established friend groups, and I think it's human nature that we will automatically see that as cliquey. However, it's also human nature to stick to what you're comfortable with. So people who have over time created an established group of friends will tend to stick to their own group of friends, just like in vanilla life. And this doesn't necessarily mean that the lifestyle is inherently cliquey though. Most of the time everyone is super nice, but they're just sticking to what they're comfortable with. It doesn't mean that they don't want to welcome more people, but it could come off that way. Just make sure to not take things personally if you want to become friends with a group and it doesn't seem to work out, and this is coming from experience. Instead of sticking to a group or trying to create one, we recommend trying to be social butterflies. We love meeting tons of people and being friends and acquaintances with a lot of people rather than just sticking to one couple or one group.
So now we'll get a little bit into the idea of how to approach somebody for play. So once again, consent is so important. Think about that first. But yes, this can be a little bit intimidating. For us, generally, we like to get to know a couple before we kind of move into those types of conversations. That's what makes it easiest and most comfortable for us and what we prefer. Now, this could be, you know, having conversations. This could be dancing together. This could be over multiple meetings over multiple days. It's always going to vary a little bit. Lots of time when you start to have these conversations and it goes further and further, those things kind of come up more naturally. But for us, we just like to make that connection first, whether that's over multiple meetings or that night. But doing that makes things a little bit more comfortable. So that's the first thing that's a key for us. Our go-to line, maybe once all that's kind of established, me and Bella have talked, made sure that we're on the same page and that we're both wanting to do that with that couple at that specific time as well. Our biggest line is, sometimes it's her, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's us together, but we'll go up to, you know, the couple and say, hey, would you guys like to go back to our room? You know, it's a very casual, easy thing. It's very easy for people to say, hey, no, I'm sorry, we're not interested. Whatever it is, make sure, you know, if those things happen, people say no. Rejection is super normal. Don't take it personally. Just keep moving forward. But just asking that way keeps it lighthearted, and in our opinion, makes it really easy. I know here I said specifically room, but this could be like, you guys want to go back to the playroom? Do you guys want to, you know, leave here, go back to someone's place? You can kind of insert your own verbiage there, but that's just a general rule of how we like to word that. So also, if you know you do go back to one of those rooms and it's kind of hard to get things started, we do have a game, Foreplay the Game, right here, foreplay.com/games. That's number 4OURPLAY.com/games. But basically we have a game that is just a lifestyle icebreaker. It really helps you get to know people. It helps break down those walls. It helps moving into play be a lot more comfortable if that's what you're going for. So we cannot highly more recommend it because, well, it can be very hard to make those things happen, and for us, it always works well.
We made that specifically for that reason, because we were like, okay, we don't know how to kind of move this into play, and so we were like, well, let's try making a game. And it was just for us, and it worked out so well that every time it was working, we were like, okay, more people need this. So I mean, it really is a fantastic game for parties.
I'm also briefly talk about different kind of etiquette in the playrooms. At all these events, there's always going to be different types of play areas, but you're just going to make sure that you are following everyone's boundaries and rules when you're going to these places. So for example, you're going to have some places that have opaque curtains, some places that have sheer curtains. So opaque curtains, right? You can't see through those. People do not want to be seen. So do not go and open those and peep inside. That's not what they're for. There's places that have sheer curtains for people that want to be watched, or if you want to be watched yourself. Same things, there is group areas that are there for people to be watched. So just make sure to go to the areas that people are wanting that to happen. So make sure just to respect everybody in those ways.
Also make sure that you're not just staring intently and making people feel uncomfortable. Like if you do want to watch, don't make it weird. Just don't make it weird. Now let's talk about the etiquette after you leave the club in the event that play did happen. So we personally like to stay in contact with people, whether that's on social media, and Instagram is our personal preference since you can keep up with people's stories and post, or we'll do it through texting. We prefer to communicate through group chat so that everyone knows what's going on at all points, and it's more fun to make jokes and be flirty with everyone together anyway. And we'll generally text a couple the next day saying something along the lines of, hey, we had such a great time last night. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We do like social media over texting because it just lets us keep up with each other without that constant texting, which ends up being easier for us. So if it wasn't a great experience, that's a little bit different. So do what you feel comfortable with that. But if we personally didn't have the best experience with a couple or feel like the friendship doesn't necessarily need to continue or flourish, we'll just start to stop interacting together as much and create more space in the friendship, and eventually it just kind of fizzles out on its own. Now we don't do that if we had a completely negative experience though, as in if someone else broke our boundaries or crossed the line. That's only happened once though in our entire journey over the last 10 years, so that's like a completely different story.
And this last kind of part is just going to be some different etiquette things that don't really fit into an area, but just a different etiquette that you should know as a general rule when you come to these parties and go to lifestyle events. One of the biggest things we think that you need to pay attention to is cell phones and taking pictures. Now, yes, we think it's totally okay if you're gonna have your phone out, you know, so you can take a picture of a group, but make sure there's not people in the background of these photos. Try to do your best to kind of go off into a little area so it's just yourself in these photos. Same thing with a video. You just don't want to be getting people that are around you in these photos and videos, especially if you're going to post them, you know, on a Facebook or online or something like that. Just because the lifestyle is so stigmatized and people go to these places so they can feel safe and know they can be themselves. And the last thing they want to do is show up in the background of somebody's picture on a swingers cruise or something like that and then get outed that way. It's so important to just respect everybody and make sure that everyone is on their own journey. So you outing somebody by having the background of your photo is really rude, and honestly it's just a violation. Lots of time parties don't even allow phones and things like that. So if you're going to do it, just make sure you're doing it in an area that's a little bit off to the side so that you're respecting everyone around you. Another thing is if you're gonna drink, you know, totally okay, make sure to just drink in moderation. You want to be coherent. If you are too inebriated, you know, you are going to get kicked out of these places, and also no one wants to be around someone who is too inebriated. So just make sure if you are gonna drink in moderation so you can be respectful. You also want to make sure to be respectful with your words towards people. I know a lot of time maybe people think, oh, someone is wearing something revealing. We're in a swingers club. I should just make some compliment about something like that. Yes, while it's okay in certain situations to compliment people, you're gonna want to make sure that you are making sure people are comfortable when you are saying the things. Do not say something that is gonna make someone potentially feel awkward or uncomfortable or weird at all. So if you're gonna compliment someone, just make sure it's kind and polite and courteous.
And that's it. Like we said, all the situations will vary from person to person and party to party, but now you have an idea of what the proper etiquette and protocols are at a swingers party. The most important thing is to make sure you and your partner are on the same page going into the party and that you're always courteous and respectful of those around you. Again, remember, consent is the most important thing at all times. And we hope this video helped you and make you feel a little bit more comfortable before your next or first lifestyle party.
Thank you guys so much for watching the video. We really, really appreciate it. Make sure to like this video, subscribe so you never miss when you post a video. And if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to drop those down below and we will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.